Hello, thanks for joining us for a conversation on resilient parenting and mindfulness. My name is Joe Primo, and I'm the CEO of Good Grief. Today's conversation is going to offer you tools on teaching your child to develop a mindfulness practice, which has been shown to be foundational in exhibiting resilience through any adverse situation. The information we're sharing is from our Good Grief Schools program. For those who are new to us, the Good Grief Schools program teaches resilience to students grades K through 12 through a social and emotional learning curriculum. It provides peer support groups to grieving students, and it offers both parent and professional education. You can learn more at goodgriefschools.org. At this time, we find ourselves at a uniquely challenging moment during the coronavirus pandemic. We are in physical isolation from one another, jobs have been lost, people are getting sick, some are dying, and we are all having to make significant adjustments to a new reality. So it would only make sense that there is a lot of stress and uncertainty about the future. And we all know that stress and uncertainty are difficult things to deal with on a good day. At Good Grief, we see stress and uncertainty as common experiences for families who are grieving the death of a loved one, which has ultimately shaped our perspective on grief. And one of the things is the great lesson that grief can teach us is that there are some things in life we can control, and there are many, many other things we cannot control. This reality of life is difficult for many people to come to terms with, though, especially in this modern world in which we think that we have more control over our lives and the future than ever before. So, then what do we do with the stress and uncertainty that we feel about the future? How do we cope? How do we help our children navigate stress and uncertainty? One of the best tools for coping with stress and uncertainty is mindfulness and deep breathing. That is why I want to share this resilient life skill with you so that you can teach your child how to implement mindfulness into their regular routine during the pandemic, but also throughout their future. So, what is mindfulness? Mindfulness is the psychological act of turning our attention inward to pay attention to the present moment and the accompanying thoughts, emotions, breath, and even our bodies themselves. Mindfulness is an innate ability we all possess as humans, but just like the ability to walk, read, or write, it takes guidance and it also takes practice in order to cultivate this skill. As you may already know, mindfulness is something that has been practiced for centuries, and it stems from Eastern religious and spiritual traditions of Hinduism and Buddhism, but other faith traditions have similar models like contemplative prayer within the Christian tradition. The typical image for mindfulness that probably comes to mind for most of you is that of a Buddhist monk who is sitting in a meditative pose with legs crossed. That's just one of many ways to be mindful and meditate. There are many others. Nowadays, mindfulness is practiced around the world in many forms as a scientifically proven means of benefiting physical and mental health, relationships, school and workplace performance, behavior, and just general overall well being. So, teaching your child to develop a mindfulness practice can be like teaching them to ride a bike, brush their teeth, or even eventually drive a car. With the right guidance and practice, it can become second nature. A big part of what this conversation will teach you is how mindfulness and deep breathing are connected. This is also called diaphragmatic, abdominal, or belly breathing. This deep breath is the physical act of taking in air fully through your nose, which expands your lungs to the point where your lower belly rises. There are, of course, many other techniques out there to engage in deep breathing practices. And it turns out that this is one of the body's greatest self-healing mechanisms when you effectively practice implementing the technique regularly. Mindfulness and breathing work are great companions to raising self-awareness and calming oneself in any given moment of stress or when feeling overwhelmed, especially at a time like the pandemic. And it's for this reason that researchers point to mindfulness as being a foundational practice for those who exhibit resilience in adverse situations. So, as we think about helping children and teens develop this crucial life skill, we can be excited about the fact that we can help them grow and develop an ability to be fully present with themselves, to reflect on a moment, connect with their own emotions and needs, and employ strategies for coping with big emotions and difficult experiences. So ultimately, all of this is to say that the combination of mindfulness, being fully present, and deep breathing is a coping skill that builds resilience. Now, the best way to teach your child this skill is with a consistent, structured plan that allows for organic learning to take place. It is highly unlikely that they are going to enjoy it or be as open to learning if this feels like a lesson at school. So just keep it loose. Start by picking a time that is calm and quiet in your house, like during your child's bedtime routine. The first time that you introduce mindfulness as a practice to a young child should not be in the middle of a tantrum or an emotional breakdown, because that's probably going to go pretty poorly. And of course, in a similar fashion, don't teach this to your teenager when you are butting heads and you just want them to calm down or chill. Emotionally charged times are not effective moments for teaching or learning. It's likely best that you start by testing mindfulness out as a way to wind down at the end of the day. Maybe you're like me and you watch a TV show or movie before bed. So just start that show or movie 5 to 10 minutes earlier and set a time, that additional time for mindfulness practice together. And admittedly, it might feel corny at first, and that's totally okay. I say lean into the awkward, and in the end, it will be worth it. So start very simply by sharing with your kids that things have been tough lately with everything going on around coronavirus. It's important that you acknowledge the stress and uncertainty that you feel. I think we often expect kids to be vulnerable and honest. And we can't expect kid to be vulnerable, honest if we are not. So share some of the emotions that you have experienced, such as stress, being overwhelmed, fearful, or even sad. Then once you've done that, open up a conversation by asking them to share how they've been feeling. Acknowledge and normalize all the feelings they share with you. You don't have to fix or make any of these feelings better. All you have to do is listen. So by opening your own emotions and inviting them to share theirs, you're drawing an important connection between the emotions we experience and a tool that can help us cope. And now that you've made that connection between the tool and the emotions, it's time to practice. So, share that you have a few mindfulness activities, ideas in mind to try together. Explain to your child or children that mindfulness and deep breathing is a really great way to help ourselves calm down whenever and wherever we need it. Tell them that if they ever feel overwhelmed at home, at school, at a friend's house, that they can use deep breathing and it will help them feel better. We have an accompanying activity sheet for this webinar, and it has various exercises for you to use with your child. Pick one that's age appropriate, such as the breathing with shapes for younger children or the deep breathing for relaxation response for teenagers. Once you complete the practice, conduct what we call an emotions check in with your child by asking how they feel at the end of it. The tip sheet, all these tools are on our webpage. Remember, this is going to take repeated practice. Even if your kids are really opposed and think, oh, this is so stupid or awkward, uh, just keep doing it. Keep practicing, because in time, it's going to start to feel normal and eventually a part of your nightly routine together. And I bet maybe in not much time at all, you will start hearing your kids use words like relaxed and calm when they do the emotions check in at the end. As with any new skill, it's going to take time and consistency to implement a new routine in your family. So if it starts off choppy, don't run away. just stick with it. So we started out with the goal of exploring how to cope with things when it feels stressful and uncertain. By using mindfulness and deep breathing techniques, we can learn to calm the stress and the feelings of being overwhelmed. And with regular practice, we can teach our children that these important life skills will help them cope with a variety of adversities and ultimately build their resilience. We have a bunch more resources about this subject on our website, good-grief.org. Be sure to check out the resource page and this webinar's accompanying activities to complete with your child. Take care and be well.